little bit, maybe about that one's scared of her. She is the boss. I recognized that early in life. And I listened to her for the first 23 years that I lived. I listened to what she was teaching me, and I stayed away from the alcohol and drugs and everything my father was on that side where he was alcoholic. And, he was a very angry man. And when I sobered up, I spent 1 year with my father. And I learned really a lot about who he really was. And I learned it at a time in his life when he was dying from cancer. And I learned that year why he carried so much anger. And because I experienced seeing that so much when I was 10, a little child. And he was a very hard worker, very hard worker. Worked in the bush all the time, cutting logs, cutting wood, so. But when he did go and when he would drink, he would go on a binge drink. He'd go 10 days, sometimes he'd go a month, or he would be gone. And that's where all the anger and the violence would come out. And so I found out why he carried that. My grandmother had 3 boys, my Uncle Frank, my dad, and my Uncle Sam. And my dad was the in-between son, but my actual grandfather and my grandmother, he was not the father of my dad. And so he wasn't accepted by my dad or my grandfather, and he had a hard time, and so he was taken away, and he was raised by my grandmother from the other side, his other side. And so there was always that anger that came out. And when I was 5 years old, I listened to my grandfather tell my dad that he was not his son. And then when I started to drink, at 25 years old, my father and I drank together. And we got into an argument. And my father told me the same thing that I heard my grandfather tell my dad. My dad told me that I wasn't his son. And I didn't believe it, and to this day I still don't believe it. Because I look like him. But anyways, I understood how that generational stuff was passed on from generation to generation. And I also understood how that anger is passed on also. And so, so before my father passed away, I was able to make amends. I told him that I heard my grandfather tell me that, and I heard you tell me that I was not his son. But I said I'm going to stop the cycle because I had my son there. And I told my son that I would never tell him that he's not my son. So in order to stop that cycle, that's what I had to do. And I started to understand more about the anger and to be able to recognize things and to be able to heal from it. And when a lot of times when these young kids come to us, I feel what they're feeling because I know they've gone through a lot of the things that we've gone through. And I'm able to talk about them. Now I'm now able to talk about them. And if, you know, even though I still get emotional sometimes about it,